Welcome back, gang. It's Deltia from deltiasgaming.com, and we're starting to get a lot of details surrounding the mega upcoming RPG this fall, Dragon Age: The Veilguard. In this video, I'm going to break down what we know so far about combat abilities, skill trees, and how builds could work. So let's get started. The first thing to notice after the EA gameplay preview is that Dragon Age Veilguard combat will be action-based with much more movement and action. However, you can pause combat and order companions to perform various actions similar to Mass Effect, another BioWare classic. Speaking of which, BioWare seems to have blended the best parts from Mass Effect series and Dragon Age into a much faster paced, action-oriented combat system, including combos, which I'll touch on later. So far, here's the too long didn't read on combat in Dragon Age Veilguard. Factions. These are chosen during character creation and give a unique bonus and are vital to your build. Race. There's 4 playable races that influence mainly dialogue: Elf, Dwarf, Kunari, and Human. Classes. There are 3 classes in the game with the party size of 3: Rogue, Mage, and Warrior. Specialization. Each class has 3 specializations that can augment their build, playstyle, power, and skills. Max level. A level cap of 50 with skill points throughout to truly customize your build. Companions. There are 7 companions, 2 warriors, 2 rogues, and 3 mages. Combat. Action-oriented. This means real-time with dodging, blocking abilities, light and heavy attacks. Combos. You can use combinations of skills and abilities to amplify damage and cause secondary explosions and/or status effects. Tactical mode. You'll still be able to pause combat and assign actions to companion using a wheel user interface. Speaking of the user interface, let's take a look at that next, as it reveals a lot of details about combat. The user interface in combat shows 3 skills, potions for healing, a range consumable, arrow, a resource bar, and potentially an ultimate skill. The image shown here is a combat perspective of the rogue class at higher levels, foreshadowing what we can expect. The red triangle represents 3 skills that can be activated. The middle skill is grayed out, meaning you can't use it or it's on cooldown. The smallish gray red bar below is a unique resource each class uses. Rogues have momentum, and each consecutive attack builds that meter. There are 2 small dots, which, once filled, allow the use of that particular ability. The health bar comes in a variety of forms. The standard health bar is red when taking damage. It shows lowering with gray. Dragon Age Veilguard also has status effects and combos shown on the health bar as well. The rogue in EA's gameplay inflicts weakened status effect. There is a text above the bar and a symbol to the right. Lastly, you can see a blue bar above a specific enemy with a blue icon to the left of their health bar. This is probably likely an elemental shield and is reduced with a specific element or damage source, though I'm just guessing on that one. However, many symbols, status effects, and resource tracking will be critical for players to recognize in combat. Next up is what I'm most excited about, and that's movement in combat. Combat in Dragon Age: The Veilguard will be real-time action-oriented. Your character will have 3 active skills based on their class and specialization. Each skill will have cooldowns and therefore can't be used repeatedly. Moreover, each class will have range and melee damage options, including light and heavy attacks. Defense and damage avoidance can be done in a variety of ways. Both melee and range combat have telegraphs when being targeted. With a melee attack, players will see gray halo above their heads, which becomes more yellow over 1 to 2 seconds. The same applies to range attacks, though a line travels to the player. This system resembles Hogwarts Legacy if you played that RPG, and might reward players for a perfect dodge, parry, or skill combo to reflect damage. Moreover, the game doesn't appear to have a stamina bar. Thus, you can expect unlimited dodging. It might be possible, at least on the road. Healing was shown through potions only, but we imagine the mage class will specialize in healing. The overall feel for combat is much more movement, while your companions follow along providing support. Next up is combat resource, which is unique to each class. Each class, like I said, has a unique combat resource mechanic represented in the bottom center of their user interface. For the rogue, you use momentum. Each time you do damage, the bar fills up. However, each time you take damage, the bar drops. Once filled, you can use that ability or likely amplify the damage. Therefore, each class must carefully master combat and build a character towards their specific unique resource system. The bow was also shown in gameplay, revealing and requiring aim, or at least aim down sights. This could reward headshots for extra damage. And also could be difficult for players who avoid first-person shooters and might want something different to consider when selecting their preferred class. Next up is skills, and how do they work? In Dragon Age Veilguard, each character will have 3 equipped skills, which can be activated on their bar or through pause tactical combat perspective. These include a cost. So for the rogue, it's momentum. That's the resource you use to use abilities. Furthermore, these abilities can trigger status effects and prime or trigger combinations. Therefore, players will want to coordinate their protagonist character with companions to optimize their party's combat potential. The most important aspect is combining multiple damage types or elements and status effects to ensure you can melt through any encounter. The Dragon Age Veilguard will also feature elemental resistances and weakness, so having a balanced group approach will likely be the best. Veilguard will also feature a tactical mode system, where players can pause live action to give specific commands to companions and use abilities. The user interface for tactical mode displays each companion's skills and cooldown on the left and right. The player's skills are on the bottom and the companion portraits you find at the top. The enemy NPCs show in the center, revealing vulnerabilities and resistances. Therefore, players must constantly enter tactical mode during new enemy encounters or challenging fights to discover tips for destroying enemies. Or also, you could just take a breather and kind of think about what you're going to do. Very similar to Mass Effect. Additionally, you will notice companion number 2 can light up and say combo with. Veilguard will feature a combo system combining multiple abilities and status effects to produce additional combat amplifications. The skill Shred inflicts sunder. Once an enemy is sundered, you can combo with companion number 2 ability, thus selecting skills that prime or start a combo and detonate finish the combo is critical to your performance in combat, and this is why companions will play such a significant role in what you're doing. Next up, we have abilities and skill trees. In a recent Game Informer post, BioWare shares more details on skill trees and specializations. Each class will have 3 specializations requiring players to invest skill points to travel along a web of skills, passive, and maybe an ultimate. The honeycomb system is familiar with other games and has a middle section which likely universally useful skills and/or an ultimate. The icons represent what type of skill or ability you can unlock. Diamond-shaped skills are abilities that you can slot, up to 3, remember. Large circles are class skills, medium circles are passive and ability upgrades, and small hexagons are traits. Lastly, the small circles present passive and stat boost. Likely, players will only want a small selection of skills that supplement each other's combo, priming, and detonation system, because you can only slot 3, so what's the point of having 25? From that point, players should optimize for maximum effectiveness with ability boost and passive versus a massive amount of skills. Dragon Age will feature the Holy Trinity in RPGs, tanks, healer, and DPS. However, you can specialize in various aspects within the system, giving your party and build a unique composition, feel, and playstyle. Speaking of that, let's talk about classes and specializations. We know most of the details about the upcoming classes and specializations. The first class to touch on is the Rogue. It's available in all 4 races, likely to use medium armor, bow, and dual-wield daggers. The specializations are Duelist, Saboteur, and the Veil Ranger. Some of these specializations are familiar to Dragon Age Inquisition players. So we have the Duelist. The specialization focuses on movement and dodging, highly agile class with dual-wield skills. Saboteur. Similar to Inquisition, the specialization focuses on traps and using them to your advantage during combat. Veil Ranger is more of a range-focused class that prefers to stay in the back lines while primarily using range for damage. Next up is the Mage. This is available for 3 races, Elf, Qunari, and Human. Armor type, light, weapon, staff, and maybe a wand or another weapon. Specializations, we have Deathcaller, Evoker, and Spellblade. Deathcaller, we can assume it will be similar to the Necromancer from Inquisition, with a new twist on undead summoning. Evoker, this specialization focuses on elemental magic, fire, ice, and lightning, and is probably your large AoE damage dealer. Spellblade, this is likely to be a more melee-focused class, a combat mage. While we don't have specifics on this specialization yet, we can speculate that it'll be similar to the Knight Enchanter. Next, we have a Warrior. It's available for all 4 races, heavy armor, sword and shield, or two-hander. Specializations are Slayer, Reaper, and Champion. We don't know much about Reaper and Slayer yet, but Champion we do know. For the Champion specialization, we don't know what it will look like in Veilguard, but it was in Dragon Age Inquisition. The Champion specialization focuses on defensive and survivability. Champions excel at absorbing damage and protecting allies. Think of it as your typical sword and board tank. And that's what we know so far about the class's specializations and abilities. So that begs the question, how will builds work? How can you create your own build in Dragon Age Veilguard based on the details we know? Well, you can just go to my website, of course, TLDRgaming.com, but in all seriousness, here's kind of what we know so far. Factions. This will give players a unique bonus and is likely suited for individual classes and specializations. Therefore, even in character creation, you'll want to be more strategic, making decisions about your faction. Class. Your class will determine your overall playstyle, resource system, and specialization choices. You will want to identify companions to complement your selected class and not choose, let's say, 3 mages with 0 survivability. Next is specialization. Using the skill trees, you'll want to navigate to find new abilities and skills while also passively boosting the most important and most used skills that you currently utilize. There is a respec system in Dragon Age the Veilguard, so experiment frequently and adjust accordingly to your companions. Companions. Your companions will bring 3 active skills and gain new skill points based on your relationship status with them. Selecting a tank companion would be a good combination if you intend to play a ranged spellcasting mage. So just keep in mind the companions that you are interested in and want to bring will likely affect which class you select at the start of the game, if you want to be optimal. Skills and passives. Players will want to select a limited number of skills and focus on amplifying passive bonuses and traits for the best results. With only 3 active skills, having a variety in combat isn't that effective. However, you can use multiple weapon loadouts and are likely able to swap between 2 or more skill sets during encounters. Think similar to Hogwarts Legacy or even Mass Effect Andromeda here. And this might be useful when you're fighting bosses with specific resistances. Weapons, armor, and jewelry will likely amplify your skill, companion, and combat power, though we didn't see much of that. And that wraps up our video breaking down Dragon Age. I hope this helps you and gives you an idea of what to expect coming in the fall with the release of the game. Please like this video if you got something out of it and leave a comment on what you found most insightful, if anything, and I appreciate you watching.